Good morning, students. Today we will be learning the topic active and passive voice as a part of your English language assignment, which will be submitted to you on dated 5th July 2021. Students, in our previous classes, we have already done this topic. So, all of you must be knowing that a sentence can be in the active voice or passive voice, as there are two ways of expressing an action by using a transitive verb. Now, let us revise active and passive voice. Active voice. What are active voice? A sentence is said to be in the active voice when the subject of a verb is the doer of the action. For example, I write a letter. Renu plays tennis. So students, here you can see subject I and subject Renu. Both are the doer of the action. So these sentences are in active voice. Passive voice. A sentence is said to be in the passive voice when the subject of a verb receives the action. For example, a story is written by me. Tennis is played by Renu. So here you can see that the subject is receiving the action of the verb. So these sentences are in passive voice. Passive voice is used when we do not know the doer of the action. For example, my watch was stolen. Number 2, when the action is more important than the doer himself. For example, the bill was passed by the parliament. Number 3, when we write notices, newspaper reports, headlines, advertisements, and experiments. For example, the winner will be awarded by the minister. The matter is being looked into by the police. Now we will do how to change assertive sentences to passive voice. When we change an assertive sentence from active to passive voice, the object of the verb is put in the subject position and the subject in the object position. When we change an assertive sentence into passive voice, then change in pronouns. If the subject or the object in an active voice sentence is a pronoun, it changes its form as shown in the table. Subject position to object position, I changes into me, we, us, you remains you, he, him, she, her, they, them, it remains it. And object position to subject position, me changes into I, us, we, you, him, he, her, she, them, they, it remains it. Change in tenses. When we change an active voice sentence to a passive voice, the verb is changed into its passive voice form in different tenses. The table given on the next page shows how the verb is changed. If the active voice sentence is in simple present tense, for example, I write a letter, when we change it into passive voice, then it will change into a letter is written by me. Present continuous tense change into change like I am writing a letter Present continuous tense change as a letter is being written by me. Present perfect tense, I have written a letter. A letter has been written by me. And simple past tense, I wrote a letter, will change like a letter was written by me. Past continuous, I was writing a letter. A letter was being written by me. Past perfect tense, I had written a letter. A letter had been written by me. Then past perfect continuous tense, I had been writing a letter. We can't change it into passive voice. No passive voice of past perfect continuous tense. Simple future tense, I will write a letter. A letter will be written by me. Then future continuous tense, I will be writing a letter. There is no passive voice for future continuous tense. Future perfect, I will have written a letter. A letter will have been written by me. Perfect continuous tenses are not changed into passive voice. Past participle V3 is always used in passive voice sentences. So students, keep in mind, when we change any tense into passive voice, we always use past participle. Third form of the verb is used in passive voice. Students, we have learned that how to change assertive sentences into passive voice. Now we will see that changing verbs with two objects to passive voice. If there are two objects, then how to change? Some sentences have two objects of the verb, the direct and indirect object. Either of the objects can be made the subject. In most cases, the indirect object or person is the preferred subject in the passive voice. For example, father gave a watch to me. Active voice, I was given a watch by my father. So passive voice. So same sentence, a watch was given to me by father. So you can see here it can be changed into two ways. Then how to change imperative sentences. Changing imperative sentence to passive voice. All of you know that an imperative sentence is used to express an order, an advice or a request. We change each type of imperative sentences to passive voice in different ways. How to change imperative sentence with order or command. The sentence begins with let and imperative verb change into be. Past participle verb V3 is used. For example, open the door. This is active voice. Let the door be opened. Passive voice. So you can see here, we can start it with let. If the sentence is in the negative, we use let not. For example, do not leave the food uncovered. Active voice. Let not the food be left uncovered. This is passive voice. So how to change advice or suggestions. The object in the imperative sentence takes the position of subject and the verb expressing the advice or suggestion changes to should, must, ought to plus be plus past participle V3, third form of the verb. For example, do exercise every day. Active voice. Exercise should be done every day. Passive voice. Then how to change request beginning with please and kindly. We use the phrase you are requested to before the imperative verb. For example, please give me some money. Active voice. How to change into passive? You are requested to give me some money. Passive voice. In negative sentences, the structure becomes you are requested not to plus verb. For example, please do not cut the trees. How to change into passive voice? You are requested not to cut the trees. Passive voice. So students, we have done that how to change imperative sentences. Now we will do that changing of interrogative sentences to passive voice. Yes, no questions. Yes or no questions. The auxiliary verbs do, did, does in an interrogative sentence with the verb in the active voice change into is, was and are or were in the passive voice. For example, do they play cricket every day? Active voice. Is cricket played by them every day? Passive voice. Did they play a match yesterday? Active voice. Was a match played by them yesterday? So students, here you can see that do is changed into is and did is changed into was. The auxiliary verb have and has and had in the interrogative sentence in the active voice changes into have been, has been and had been plus past participle, third form of the verb. Students, modals do not undergo any change in the active or the passive voice. For example, had she knitted a sweater for you? Active voice. Had a sweater been knitted by her for you? Passive voice. Can she solve this sum? Active voice. Can this sum be solved by her? Passive voice. Then WH questions. WH questions. How to change WH questions? Questions beginning with who, what, which, when, why, etc. retains the question word in the passive voice in the beginning of the sentence and sometimes a preposition. Usually by is placed at the end. For example, who did this? Active voice. By whom was this done? Passive voice. So alright students, we have done with the topic. Now you all are required to revise the content and try to attempt all the exercises given in your book. Thank you and have a nice day.